the last session we're going to do here is going to be on filtering. So I'm going to look at the participant number right now is in the 70s, and I hope that I don't see it drop because I think it's really an important thing to learn, and I know that it can be a little overwhelming. I'm going to try to make it easy for you to understand it as much as possible. So I may finish this one early and on purpose because I want to see if you guys have questions and that I can help you like practically actually show you some of the things that you want to know how to do with filters as opposed to me trying to just teach it. So anyway, that said, let's get started. So filters, I think one of the best ways to understand filters would be, it's like a search. Okay, so you're searching for something and you're trying to match with whatever you type in this box, this search box, you want anything that matches that to be returned in your result set. Kind of like when you're going to Google and you're searching for something. You type in some words, you hit enter, Google returns everything that they think matches what you're trying to search for, and they do a really good job at it. We're trying to do the same thing for you. Because we have these list pages here, when we realize there's a lot of data in some of these, you need to be able to filter. You need to be able to search for things and find it. Why don't we call it searches? Probably because what we're going to do here is searching is kind of when you're doing it in the moment. But what we're going to show you is how you can take a search and apply that later on to something automatically. And so we think a better word for that is filters. So it's also kind of similar to if you're going to like a shopping website and you want to, maybe you're on Amazon and you want to try to find a certain product. You may say that I want it to be made by this manufacturer. I want it to be under this dollar amount. Those are filters that you're setting. And so it's the same concept that we're doing here. So I'm going to show you first off, we're going to start with really simple stuff. So let me go to, I'm not really sure of a good one to use here. Let's see what happens. I'm going to go to one that wasn't available previously. We have venues, right? And you can have a venue name and a venue address, and we never let you edit them. In the new UI, you can edit them. So I'm kind of inadvertently teaching you something else. But let's see if this works here. Okay, good. So if I were going to look at my venue list and I'm looking for a park, I would type park in. And you can see immediately that whatever I type in here, this list is filtered. We search it and we filter out anything that doesn't match, okay? Now, if I want to go further than that, I can just start working with it if I want. I can click over here. I can click on an item. I don't have to do any more. But if I want to further filter it down, let's say I have too many parks here. I still can't find the one I'm looking for. So what I would do is either I could look through this list, but again, it should match this list over here. So it could be really long. So what I would do is I would just click this and say, okay, I'm looking for something that has a park in it, but I still can't find it. So I need to further filter this down. I'm trying to find one that would give me multiple results, but it doesn't look like I'm going to. So let's go ahead. That's not a good
example. I'm not sure if you're what you're going for in this example, but on that last one, you had venue name containing park, and then the last search result had Parkway Drive.
Yes. Yeah, you can see the difference here. Park isn't in here, but it's in the name of the address or the address street. That's why that shows up. But so let's just say, we could add another key. We don't even have to click on it. We just type in there, and it's gonna further filter down that list. Now, if I did click on it, I have the option of any or all. So any means any of them that have a park or any of them that have bull in it. But I want all. I want them all to match. And there we go. There's my result that I'm looking for. And that's how we're able to quickly find what we want to find. Like I said, in most cases, and we can clear those filters by either removing them here, or we can just click this button. In most cases, it's going to be pretty simple. You're going to just type in what you're looking for, and you're going to find it. So let's see if I type in church. Maybe there's some churches. Okay, there's only one. So in most cases, you're going to find it pretty quickly. We give you these options here, and this will become more clear when we get the leads. Because on leads, I think that it requires a lot more filtering sometimes to really zero in on what you're looking for in leads. But anytime you choose one of these, it's going to really limit what you're going to see, because what it's doing is it's defining the field, and the field has to contain that value or match that value completely. So in this case, it always has to match it. So when we return these, we return anything that contains it, and then it'll actually force a match. So if I typed in park again, I'll show you. If I choose any one of these, it's going to say this field has to equal that. And if I click it, now my filter is set just to that. So obviously, I'm only going to get one result. So that's what some of the things I want you to see. Now, in this case, the only field we're searching here and allowing you to click on is the venue name. When we get to more complicated things like leads, we're going to show multiple different fields that you can match, okay? And then I'm going to show you, because these are specific matches, we have a way to do a match that is not specific on a field as well. So I'll show you how to do that too. But when we talk about a keyword match, this is a lot looser of a match, and it's going to just basically look at anything that it's similar across a number of different fields. Okay, so get used to using these, because it's going to make it a lot easier than scrolling through and trying to look for what you want. And it just takes a click and a few letters that you type in here, and you can find exactly what you're looking for. While I'm in here, just to show you what a venue looks like here, you can come in here and you can make adjustments to your venue if you want. And again, we have help information down here. That venue name is accessible on the leads page when you're building your venue stuff. So if it's a place you deliver to regularly, like a park, you would want to set this up and then just choose that venue name, and it saves you from typing the address in. So, okay, so let's go a little deeper into filters here. Let's go to our leads page, because that has the most that we can do filtering. So we just talked about how to search different fields. So if I were to type in Smith, I'm going to see some different options. Here's the field. Field has to equal Bill Smith, or possibly the last name just has to equal Smith, or the venue name has to be Smith. So you can see I have a lot of different options in here. I can always just keep the keyword of Smith. I promised that I would show you how to search more than one, how to kind of search a field for a looser match. Okay, so these are, when I type this in, if I were to choose any of these are exact matches. Now, if I just want to search for this lead organization, I want to skip all of these other fields. I don't want to search these other fields. Just want to search lead organization for Smith. So here's how I would do that. And this is going to change slightly in our next release, because we're going to not make this visible by default. You'll have to click a link to get there, but I could come in here and I can either search for the field name by scrolling, or I can actually start typing it in, and it's going to float to the top, and I can choose that and say, okay, I want to just search organization, and I want to search Smith. Now you can see all my results return just organization of Smith. Okay, now that's not available for all fields yet. So if you run into one that you think we need to add it for, we most likely can do that. But I'm just trying to show you that you have a lot of options here for finding what you're looking for. Now, I will use this quite frequently when I'm working with the software, and I'm usually searching for a field that we don't search by default, and it shows up lower in the list, and I'm looking for the tags. So I want to find a contact tag name. So I'll come in here and I'll choose that, and then I'll type in whatever tag name I'm looking for. However we tag stuff that people came in from. And so that's one reason to do that. We have some general stuff in here too. So normally we're searching what we call common fields, the ones that are most used. Reason why we don't search all fields is because it takes more time, and you don't always need to be searching all the fields. Even all fields is probably not completely accurate. We do not search all fields, even in an all fields situation. This is all available fields. It's pretty common that you might just want to search filters. When we click in this box right here, we see our preset filters, and then we also see any filter that we have set in this account ourselves. We only have one in there right now. So you may have a bunch of filters in your account. So you may want to search your filters to find what you're looking for. And then we go into some of the specific fields that you can search. And they're all listed in here. And again, you don't have to scroll through it. You can search it if you want, search for those field names if you want. But those are the ones that are available right now. By default, we're searching common fields. So we have a separate section for status. You would not search in here and say, I'm looking for complete status. You could do it. It's available to you. But most likely, you're going to come in here and you're going to click in the status filter area. And you're going to come in here and either search for it or find it on the list and choose it. And it's going to show you all the events that are all the leads that are in a complete status. Okay. Now, if you want to include additional things, you can also say, I also want quote status. So now it's showing both quotes and complete. Okay. This is a big departure from how you were able to filter on the old system. And I have gotten some negative feedback on this. People saying that it's not quite as easy to use as just checking and unchecking boxes. And I get that. It's 2 clicks. You click once to get in here and a second click to choose it. But every time you want to check a status, you got to come up here and click it, right? So I get that. Now, what we're doing with this is we're making it possible for you to have your own status filters. So as opposed to, and we've built a few for you. We have all statuses right here. So it just loads them all in. And then you can come in here and delete any you don't want. So you can say, well, I'll start with all statuses, and then I'm just going to get rid of all the ones I don't want. That's the easiest way for me to do it. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to come in here and look at some of the, like we only have one other filter in here. It's reserve statuses. So maybe you're just looking at things that are likely to happen. So if someone has requested a contract, or for whatever reason, you have reserved equipment for them. And so that's a good one to look at. And we'll be allowing you to add your own filters in here soon. So that's coming. So be patient on that one. The next filter that we see here is our date filter. And our date filter is going to be very similar to what you see in the old interface. Major differences is that we've added more fields, I believe. So almost any date and time filter or any date and time field is searchable now. So you'll see a much bigger list in here. You can search email log open date, email log sent date. So lots of things that you weren't able to do before are showing up here. And this is, some of these are going to be for the heavy users, people that are getting kind of a lot more technical with what they're trying to do. But I just want to make you aware that all these are in here. This birth date, this is actually an optional field that we created, and it is also searchable. So that's something new with optional fields. That those actually immediately show up in here as filterable sort of pieces. So if maybe you wanted to send out birthday cards to people in a certain birth date range, you could do that. But that is information you have to track, right? So by default, you're looking at event date. And with all of those, you have the same sort of controls that we saw before, where you can do a fixed range, where you actually choose a range. You can look at the last so many days over so many days ago, the next so many days, and so forth. And we have a couple, last week, last month, other options in here. So, depending upon what you choose, this may change a little bit, right? If we're doing a range, we need to be able to select a range. If we're doing just a number of days, then we change that input. So the other thing I wanted to draw some attention to is that you can save some of your filters from here. So let's see if I can remember how to do this. So it does give me the option to save this filter in certain circumstances. If I put in a keyword, I don't think it'll allow me to do it. Yeah, so it removes the option to save at that point. Our bar is not capable of doing that at this point. I don't know if that's something that we'll be able to add or not. But you can do it in the filters page, and that's one of the new pages and new things that we've given you with this new system. So let's go take a look at the new filters page, because while as we're getting more and more complicated here, that's the next step. This is where if you really want to build some complicated filters, and like I said, for the most part, we're giving you the tools you need to find what you want here. But if you want to take and apply a filter to an email or automated texting, or maybe your Google Calendar or other things, these are automatic filters that you set up once, you apply them to those things, and they will produce the results that you're looking for. And in those cases, it is often more important to give you a lot more control over it. So we're going to go ahead and look at what we can kind of do with this filters section. So we've never had a place to work with filters before. It was always done on the sidebar, and it was generally only leads. So we're going to show you, just feel like I should mention that you can also filter your filters. So you can search for different filters. If you have a lot of them over here, you can look for ones that are shared or not shared, but you can type in here and it'll filter your filters. So if we're going to add a filter, the first thing we want to do is pick a name, and we're looking at what we're trying to filter. Are we going to try to filter? Let me just put a name in here so it doesn't look so crummy. We're going to go ahead and try to filter, leads. We can filter customers. We can do, this is the lead status filter. Maybe we can already do that one. I guess maybe we can already do it. I didn't know we had that out yet. So you can build your status filters here for your leads page. We can do worker, inventory, venue, vendor, position, page, task. All these different things are available now if you want to build filters for those to find the different things that you're looking for. In general, lead is going to be the most popular one. So this gets into, it gets very logical. So if you know anything about logic, or if you got into a little more algebra, this might make a little more sense to you than any of you who haven't or have forgotten those things. But I'll show you this. It's not difficult. So I'm just going to randomly pick some things here. I'll try to pick things that will give us some results because it'll be more exciting. But if I wanted to say, I want my last name to contain Smith, so over here we're picking the field name, which is very normal to what you're used to doing on a filter. We just went through the field names. Here is what you're doing is you're picking the comparator, like how you want us to analyze this. So does it contain? Does it have to exactly equal? Do we say we don't want it to equal that? Do we want to say that it's just empty, it's not set, or it is set to something? We can say it begins with or ends with, and so forth. Lots of options here. Most of the time you're going to do contains. So once we add our first one, what we see is some additional options here. We now can say and or, and we now can add a group. And so we immediately will also see down here how many leads match. And the purpose of this is to let you see what the result of your filter is. And this is clickable too. So we can actually click it and it'll take us to that page and it'll apply that filter, okay? Which is pretty cool. So we can quickly see, are we getting the results that we mean to get as we're building this filter? Because that's very important. If we're going to apply this filter and have it do things automatically, then we need to make sure that we set it up properly. Otherwise, the wrong people are going to get the wrong emails and the wrong texts, and then we'll have calls from customers that are confused, right? So we don't want to do that. So if we're going to do a simple filter, we may not need to add a group. We may say the last name has to equal that, and oh boy, let's see. Let's say the delivery type, it has to be, contain pick for pickup, because we can't remember if we put a dash in up or how we wrote it. So we'll just do that. So we can do that, and that's going to see that now we don't have any that are matching right now. None of those are matching. And the way that our automated stuff works is that we're going to apply this filter to something automated. So anything that it matches with is going to trigger something to happen, whether that's an automated text, an automated email, whether that means we're sending it to the Google Calendar or not sending it to the Google Calendar, or possibly not emailing somebody because of this match. That is all stuff you can determine. Again, we don't have this set up to allow you to edit. Right now you have to just remove it when you don't want to do it. The other option is or, correct? So we can say or, and if we do again the delivery type contains pick, let's see if we get anything. So we still have 8 leads. So I'm picking a bad example. Let's try drop. Oh, I think I have to add it. Okay. So because I said or, now it's giving me all of these ones that match, and it's giving me all of these ones that match, because I'm saying it can match either or. When I say and, it has to match both. So you can see the result set has gone up significantly. And so I can further refine this if I want. Now, when we start to get into our groups, that's kind of the next thing I want to go over with you. Generally, if you're going to do a group, you're not going to do an and. You're generally going to do an or. Not always the case, but most cases. And what normally you would do is you would have a couple ands. You might say the last name, and this has to be a drop off, and then so we only have 8 leads still. And as we filter more and more, we're going to reduce those leads most likely. So now what we would say, or, oops, I got to actually pick something. Or we could say, and this really doesn't make any sense, but I'm just going to put it in here anyway. So notice that sometimes when we choose different types of fields, we get different options. So I'm picking duration. So we could say anything that's over, 2 hours, we all would be an or. So we can add that as a group. So now let me explain what this means. So now what we're doing is we're saying it either matches this and this, or it just matches this down here. And so you can see in this case, we've increased our lead count by what we've done, because there's so many of them that just match this. Okay, we have 8 up here, as we saw before, and then every other one is because of this. But we can continue to filter it down, right? We can add more to this, and we can have multiple groups. So it's possible by using this to make a very complicated filter if you want. So let me show you one more thing with this, and because like I said, I would like to try to end this early enough that I can get some real examples from you, things that you might want to create, so I can go in and show you how to do that. So hopefully it makes more sense to you. But I want to show you like a date filter, because this is like a string filter. So this is like going to be text. This is going to be a number, and that's why we saw different, greater than or less than, stuff like that. Now, in this case, this is a date filter, and there may be a couple more that I'm not thinking of right now, but these are the primary ones. So in the case of a date filter, we have these different options. Okay, so we can say in the next 30 days, so, or maybe the next week. Okay, so oops, we'll do 7 days. So this is a very good, if you're doing automatic filtering, you're probably going to want to do something like this, okay? Because you don't want to match everybody in your database. You're usually looking at things that are coming up. So they're in the next so many days, or possibly you're going to send it to people after the fact, right? So their event occurred over 6 days ago, or possibly they signed their contract recently. So when they signed their contract recently, you want to send them something, but you do not want to most likely you're not going to leave this time frame out, because if you leave the time thing out, it's going to apply to everybody in your database probably, because, or almost everybody, because probably most people have signed their contract. And so it's going to apply to too many people. So we're usually looking at things in the future, things in the past. Now, you may not get matches on that filter because those scenarios don't exist currently, but you know they will exist at some point because people are working with you as you, as you do business. And so when you see that nothing matches, probably the best thing to do is to check it in the next few days and see if maybe as customers are working with you and you have a scenario that you think, yes, this should trigger my filter, I'm going to go check that, see if it matches, because I want to know if it's right before I apply that filter to an email or a text or whatever. But in most cases, when you're trying to set up automatic filters that apply to different actions that we're going to take, you're going to include the day stuff in it, the time frame. Okay. Last thing on this page I want to show you, and we will be improving our help for this as well, because there's so much going on here. So we'll give you a lot more information. Some of these are still kind of placeholders or just not very verbose, but we'll improve that. So if we have an account that has workers, we can come in here and we can actually share a filter with someone. What I want you to understand is that you could create 50 filters, and the guy working next to you with his own login, he doesn't really want to see all 50 of your filters because that might be annoying for him. He may have 20 of his own. So we don't show all those filters to everybody. You have to actually specifically share those filters if you want them to see them. And they can alter your filters, but when they alter them, they become, it copies the filter. It doesn't alter yours. It just takes your filter and copies it into their account as a new filter, and it's altered, okay? They can also, remove your filter from I think they can remove it from your view. And I'm noticing here we don't have a removal button here to remove that person. I'm guessing that, let's see if we save it, if it works, if it allows us to remove it then. No, so that's something we'll have to add for you. That was an oversight, but being able to share these filters is something you could kind of do in the previous version. I think it's been a little improved in this version. So let me show you how this works. If we click on here, we see a new tab with all the leads filtered by the filter that we created. Okay. Last thing I'm going to show you with filters, and then we're going to go into how to apply a filter to something, which is fairly straightforward and easy. In this case, we have a filter applied. Now I could have selected it out of a list here, or I could have done what I just did and clicked on it. It doesn't matter how I do it. But what we can see here is you can click on this. This is interesting. So if we click on this filter, it takes us to the filter. But the one thing that you're going to notice is we have a new button down here. We can actually apply a change to this and close the filter without affecting the filter. So we are not saving it. We're just making a change on the fly. So let's say we're looking at this group here and we're like, and maybe it's too big and there's a lot of stuff on here and we're like, man, I need to filter that down just a little more, or I need to alter that because I don't want, I don't want the next 7 days. I want everybody. So I can come in here and I can remove that, and I can click apply and close, and it's actually going to do it. Now, we didn't see any effect on it because just the data didn't match, or it didn't affect the data that we saw. But when you're doing that, most likely you're going to see that change. And so if we click back to it, again, it takes us back to the original filter. Actually, that should have worked there. I'm not sure why that didn't. Well, we'll have to look into that because something evidently isn't working there with that. But what this should show is an asterisk here. And then you should be able to click back to it, and it should have saved that change. And we should be able to continue to modify that and make changes to that. Now, if you want to do a save, you can save it as a copy or save and close. You can still do that. In most cases, when you're working on the lead and you want to alter the filter kind of on the fly, you're not going to do anything but an apply and close. So, and that's a really cool feature that for some reason either I'm doing wrong or something has broken it, but we'll get that fixed for you. So last thing I want to show you is applying the filters. And there's a number of places we can apply filters. And I'm going to try to think through these here and just show you where they would be. One would be automations. Another one would be our email center for auto emails and newsletters. Another one is our Google Calendar, and that's actually very new. And just to give you an idea of what you could do with the Google Calendar with a filter is that you could say, if you have multiple businesses, let's say you have, you're doing tents and you're also doing inflatables and you have some people that you just work tents with, you may set up a filter just to grab all those tent leads and put them on a separate Google Calendar that they have access to. So you can set up in our system as many Google Calendar syncs as you want. So you could set up a bunch of different calendars and just push the information that you want to those specific calendars. You could actually set up a calendar for a vendor that you work with. And you could say anytime that you're doing something with their equipment, as long as you set your filter up properly, you could send that to that Google Calendar and they could always check that calendar and get the information that they need. Because as you know, with our Google Calendar integration, what you can do is you can specify, like a template, what information you're sending over. So, and that's relatively new. Let's see, what other things do we want to look at here?
Go into automations.
Yep, we'll go into automations and take a look at that. I'm just trying to see if there's any others that I can think of. Reports, you can do some apply filters to reports by default, so that when you choose a report, it also applies that filter. So that is something you can do. And we talked about, some other places that you can have. Let's see, just trying to think if there's any more automatic filters. I might have missed some. And I know that with iPhone, we'll be adding some more filtering and automatic texting in the next coming months. So look out for that. But let's go ahead and look at one that's probably one of the most common first. I'll look at the email center. And this would be something where you, depending upon the type of customer that you're working with. Okay, so we have a payment reminder automatic email. So in this case, we have an email that we want to send out a certain number of days before the event to remind the customer that they still need to pay or they have a balance due that they're going to have to pay. Let's say that this customer is someone that we already have payment terms worked out with. They always pay 30 days after the event, and this is an annoyance for them to receive this. So, and maybe we have a group of customers like that. So as long as we can filter that group of customers, we can go to this restrictions section and we can say that we don't want to send this to any of those customers that happen to be in that filter. So we would pick that filter that we set up and we would add it. Now, this is something that is new to this user interface. You can actually add multiple filters. So I could get really complicated here and I could say, I also don't want to send it to anyone in this filter. And I also want to not send it to anyone in whatever else filter. So you can continue to do that. You could also do the reverse and you can say, I only want to send to somebody in this filter. And I only want to send to somebody in this filter. Or you can say, I want to send to someone in this filter, but if they happen to also be in this filter, I don't want to send to them. And so what that's going to do is it's going to affect the way we send these out. Now, when you start doing that, especially with an auto email, what you may want to do is create the reverse. So maybe I'm not sending those people this email, but I might want to send them a different type of email, but at the same time that I would normally send this one. And maybe I would send them a thing that says, we know that, we're looking forward to your event and we, make sure your accounting department has all the information to get so that we can get paid in 30 days after or whatever. I don't know. Probably not a good example, but you can kind of see where I'm going with that. So the email center is probably one of the most common places to use filters, and it's been available probably for the longest amount of time. Another place that inside the email center, other than an automatic email, you might use filters would be on a newsletter. So if we go to a newsletter type, just by changing it up here, we have our restrictions down here that we can set that will affect how we send out and who we send to in this newsletter. So we use this stuff a lot. So we'll look and say, okay, we are going to send out a promotion to try to earn new customers for our iPhone product. So we don't want to send to our existing customers that already have it. That's kind of annoyance for them. So what we do is we exclude them and filter them out of that email to try not to annoy them. So so that's probably the most commonplace. Automations is one of the newer areas of this system. This only exists in the new UI, the Office upgrade. And you can do quite a bit with automations. So let me go ahead and add a new automation. Now, by default, unless you're logged in as admin, we don't actually allow you to activate an automation. Why? Because we want to make sure we check it over with you so you don't do something you do not intend to do, because it's possible to do those things. With Spider-Man, I think said it best when he said, with great power comes great responsibility. And so anyone using inflatable office filters and automations, there's a great responsibility there. So in automations, it's very similar. You're going to name it, and you can make it active or inactive. Again, like I said, we have to approve those before they're actually approved. But you can say, I want to include or exclude anything in these filters. And it's going to show you the results that would be affected. Again, because you may be doing stuff that happens in the future, there may not be any results here. That doesn't mean it's a bad filter. It just may mean that no one has done the certain conditions yet, and they may, it likely will occur later. The power of automations is in the actions. So once we've found that group that we want to filter, we then can cause different things to happen. We can charge a card that's that we have saved on file. You must use certain processors for that. I think it's only global payments right now. We can send an email out. So this is kind of a way to make automated emails because we don't allow you to make them in the email center. You can only use the ones that we have set up. But if you want to make your own auto email, this is how you do it. You would come in here and you can choose an email template that you created there to send out. Or, and I don't think anyone's using this yet, you can actually email yourself a report. Or email it to someone else. So you know how we went through reports and showed you how you could build a certain report? If you apply a filter to that report, you then may want to have it automatically email. So you may want to send your tent vendor all of his upcoming jobs in the next 3 weeks in a spreadsheet form. So you can do that. Like I said, I don't think anyone is using this. So there may be some bugs and quirks to work out with that, but it's possible. You can automatically text people, and you can choose a template to text people with. And you can determine who you want to send to. We can change the status of a lead based on an action, based on this automation. So when people meet a certain criteria, we could upgrade, or downgrade their status. So here would be a good example of a downgrade. We may want to tell people that, hey, you have 10 days to book your event before we are not going to reserve your products anymore, and we're going to downgrade your status. So what you would probably want to do in this case is say, we're going to set the status back down to quote. And we're also, in this case, we probably would set a separate one that would email them ahead of time and say, you've got 10 days before you lose your reserved equipment. And then we'd probably want to send an email here as well saying that you didn't book your event. We have downgraded it, and you're no longer reserving that equipment. If you still want that, you need to contact us as soon as possible. If you guys set this up, I guarantee you that you're going to start seeing a lot more sales. People will drag their feet quite a bit. Your goal is to prevent them from dragging your feet, get them to commit as soon as possible, setting up some sort of time limit like this, and letting them know that this is going to be released, so someone else can start booking it. That's going to really affect them, and they're going to say, well, I have to make a decision. I need to figure this out now. And you're going to very quickly bring out of the woods people that may have just kind of been milling around and haven't decided. And the advantage to getting them to decide sooner is that the longer you wait, the longer they have to consider other options or other things that they might do, or even other companies that may be pursuing them. So setting up something like this, I think, would be a really good way to do it. And then, like I said, you don't even have to do this downgrade of their status. You could leave it the same. You could just send out this email that makes them think that you're no longer holding their stuff. Either way you want to do it, I think it could be a very useful tool for selling. In addition to setting your status, you can also set other fields. I don't know if we can set, it looks like we can set optional fields as well. But you can set optional fields or any other field to a new value. This is somewhat useful, but probably not as useful as it could be, because this new value would always be a fixed value. Maybe you would have something that says, lost lead or something, and whenever the customer goes past a certain point, you consider it a lost lead. You set an optional field that marks it as a lost lead, and it no longer is something that you're worried about or people are pursuing. So you could do something like that. And then also you can set things to go into maintenance. So the useful part of this is that you may say that I want to make sure that we check everything in as it comes into the shop. I don't want something to show available until I've checked it back in. And so you could set this up such that it automatically checks it out, as opposed to currently we always show it as available once the time has passed, assuming that you have gone out and picked it up, assuming that the customer has returned it to you. So there are some options here with that as well. So we got a little deep into automations here, and a little further past what we were doing with filters. But I think that's okay, because it's a very powerful part of the software. I don't think a lot of people are using it. I anticipate you're going to see a lot more things show up here, such as possibly automated phone calls and other things. You could come in here and set it up for your sales staff. If we set up the automated phone calls, you could say, I want our company number to ring and to connect us to any customer that has not touched base with us in the last 2 days that had a quote on this item or whatever. And so instead of relying on your staff to look those up and make the call, you could have our system just ring your phone and they would answer it and then automatically be connected to that customer. Now the danger there would only be that they don't know who they're getting connected to potentially. But just thinking through some of the options that we have in this system, it's pretty exciting, I think. So it looks like I've only lost 10% of you, and I'm now finished with what I wanted to cover with filters, and I went a little longer than I wanted to, but I'm going to open this up now for questions. So it looks like Nikki has one, so I'm going to let her ask her question. Nikki, can you hear us? You're unmuted, it looks.
I'm hello, can you hear me?
Yep. Yes, we can hear you.
I muted my actual headphones too, just because dogs. So with automations, I had a quick question. Can you go into automations and could you say set a filter, so customer has been reached out to in X amount of days, and the action is to send a report to your sales team saying reach out to these customers today, like that sort of thing? Like, is there a way to group?
Yes, you could do that. So let me see if I can create that real quickly.
Hey, Tim, just to be clear on her question, she's wanting the report to be sent to the salesperson in one email, not an alert email one at a time for each lead.
Yes.
I believe we can do that. Let's just.
My biggest thing is with the automation, if I could just look at the automation, because I don't have access to it for most of my accounts. If I could look at the automation that says report, is there a way to send it to a group? So for example, I have a group that is my sales team, and all of my sales team. So when I'm sending email to.
You can put in a specific email if you want. You can put commas in there, so it can go to. You can put in a couple different ones.
Okay. So it would be nice if we could have as one of the drop downs just groups. And then so your sales rep email, that's perfect. But also maybe like a group thing that says, it just says, instead of others, says group. And then from there you can select different groups.
Yeah. I mean, obviously if they're sharing the same email, like a company email, that would be fine. But yeah, I see what you're saying. That's something we could potentially add to it. So.
Perfect.
But yeah, you should be able to do that. I think the trick would be identifying the people that we want to catch. And then, and I didn't show you guys this, but if we go to reports, let's leave here. We can add a report, and we can also apply a filter to the report. So, maybe we would want to send them, different fields about the customer and so forth. Those are obviously silly, but, and we would automatically apply that filter that we built. And then the next step would be having, and quite possibly a separate filter, a slightly different filter for this, but most likely it would be the same. We'd say anytime that this hits, we would want to send that out. Now, the thing I would have to double check on is whether or not this would try to send this report for all 55 times. It may try to send it 55 times, and it includes all the right information in the first one. So, like I said, we'd have to take a look at that to be sure. But I think that we're pretty close, and we could probably get there. Any other questions?
Can I go back to like session 1? I have a quick question on that.
Sure. Anything is fair game at this point. We'll be on for another 10 minutes.
Okay. Where the lead lines there, it had a discount. Does that have to show if you're not giving them a discount, or can that be deleted?
You can't remove any of it from here at this point. The plan in the future will be to allow you to adjust which fields show and which ones are required. However, I don't know that we'll get into the detail of allowing you to do this. If your concern is you don't want to allow certain employees to apply discounts?
No, not really that. The customer, if they see discount nothing, I'd rather have them not see that they're not getting a discount, because they may say, well, why not?
We don't show it, and in communication with the customer, they don't see that if it's a nothing, or if you were able to make it positive for some reason, we would not show that. So.
Okay, well, it also how like if you reduce the price, if something came out to 500 and then you automatically reduced it to 350, and it's kind of strikes out the 500, will it still do that?
I would have to double check on our implementation of that. I think it still will, but I know if it doesn't do that, it's going to show it in a clear fashion that they are indeed getting a discount.
I like that, where they say, oh, it was 500, but for me it's 350, and show what it should have been.
Right. Yeah. You want them to see that they got discounts. Honestly, like
yes.
You want to make your prices high enough, you can always give discounts because that makes them happy.
Okay, but they won't see that they're not getting a discount on something.
No.
It realistically just depends on your email template or your page template, whatever template that they're looking at. But generally speaking, you would have to modify your templates to even show them this line item discount. By default, I think we only show that striked out number that you're referring to.
Okay, as long as the customer doesn't see that and not getting a discount on this item.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't do that.
Thank you.
Okay.
So are you still able to put on your discount a percentage in there, like 7% or 10%? Well, 10's pretty easy, but 12 or something like that, that you could still, it'll apply that percentage in there like it has before?
You know, I don't think we've brought that over yet. So that's something I need to bring back onto the top of our list, because it doesn't look like we've brought that over.
Okay, that's a great option.
Yeah, we'll bring that back over and make that possible.
Okay.
Can we rename the discount? Like we don't do our discount on the line item. What we do is we'll put down like in-kind marketing. Under the discount, we'll change the wording. Can we do that?
Yeah, you can make whatever you want.
Okay. I see. Okay.
Back to the filters, Tim. We were looking at doing being able to filter like our past due clients. So we want past due 30, past due 60, past due 90. Can we have it so it only shows us like past due, the people who are past due 30 to 60, not 0 to 60, like the whole range?
Okay, so I know Ty is talking about something that we wrote because of them, and it was done for organizations. Now, are you talking about building a filter, or are you talking about viewing it on the invoice?
Filter, because I want a report kind of thing to be sent to me every month to see.
So here's an example of, just so other people know what you're talking about. When you're working with organizations, which we didn't cover on this, but you can add different people that work for an organization, and then see all of those leads, and then change what you're seeing. You know, if you're just looking at all of them or certain ones. And then you can pull up an invoice that shows all of those leads on one. Okay. So you can see there's 2 leads in this case, and then we're showing information on past due amounts. Okay. So that's what Ty's talking about. We don't have a way to do that just yet, Ty. That is obviously a fairly new feature. So I think we have a note about it to add something like that. So we'll have to add a field so that we can then apply that filter. So, but that's something.
Because I know I can do in the filters, we can get it down to like past due 30 and past due 90, but the past due 30 has everyone in there from 30, 60, and 90 in there.
Well, let's see. You can already do past due 30. Let's see.
Yeah, is Susan here? Me and Susan fought with it one day, but we couldn't get it narrowed down to like 2 values.
Okay, so you're probably saying balance due. No, wouldn't be balance due. I'd have to look at that with you. If you're able to get to that point, it would make sense to me that you could actually do that, but I'll have to see.
It would be balance due and then like the event date, probably the event end date.
Yeah, that's a good point. So balance due is greater than 0. And then the date. You would have to say like it's over 30 days ago. But you would also have to say that it's
that's where we got stuck, under 60 days or whatever.
Okay, so we just need to add another one to that.
Okay, that's where we got stuck, because we got everything in there with the 30, 60, 90, but my 30 just tells me everyone that's over 30 days.
Yeah, or it needs to, or if we could have said not, not over or whatever, we could have potentially done it. So yeah, we can add something.
Have done it like a balance due, add a group, it's event days over 30 days, or this or that?
Well, potentially, but the problem is we don't have a not, and he's trying to exclude. So the only way to do that, Ty, would be to make, you could potentially make multiple filters and then apply one filter and then do a negative on the other one. But the problem is you can't do negative filters on leads yet. So even there, we would have an issue. You can only do those on like Email Center, Google Calendar, things like that, where you can do the negative filters. So we'll take a look at that.
Okay, perfect.
Any other questions, guys? I really appreciate all of you joining us. We had a great turnout, and I'm looking forward to helping you transition. Like I said, you can get to it currently, and we probably should have gone through this a little bit more. If you're on the old UI, we added a link in here, so you can actually get there from any lead. You can get there also from the phone by clicking a link. Alternatively, you can come up here to your URL once you've logged in and just type in account. And when you do that, that'll take you over there to the new Office upgrade. And we mentioned before, you can get back. You should have a menu item in here. It doesn't show on the demo account, but you should have a menu item to get back on your account. When you are ready, because we are working to get you guys over to this, and one of the best ways to get there is just to start using it full time in a time when you're maybe not as busy. You can also bookmark this, put it on a bookmark and just click it. But when you're ready, we can switch your account to when you log in, it automatically goes to the Office upgrade. Please just request that. Send us an email in support and request that, and we will be happy to do that. Again, you can always get back to the old one through the menu here. At some point, as we're transitioning people, we will most likely be setting your accounts to automatically go to the new Office upgrade at some point. And we'll still allow you to go back for a while, but we are phasing that out. So we want to get people moved over.
Hey, I have a question. I'm going to go back to your email. Have you guys upgraded your email system to have it more animated? Before, you could only just put pictures and words on there. You can't put a video. Have you changed that? So
when it comes to emails, there's certain things email programs will block a lot of. But if you want to put a video in there, we do allow that now. We have a button for that. And I'm just looking at a random email template here, but you can come in here and say insert video. And if you have a URL from Google, and let me see if I can pull one here real quick.
And they have to click on that URL. Does it just come up, or do they have to click on that URL?
We will embed it. But like I said, not all email programs will allow that. Many of them will block it because it's can be a bit of a security issue. But there are a number of them that will try to make the customer's experience better, and as an enhanced experience, they will actually show that. So I'm just going to put in one of ours real quick here just to show you how that works. So there you go. It was as easy as just taking a link from YouTube and slapping it in there. Now, if my screen wasn't this big, or it's going to resize, so it's not going to always show huge like that.
And so they'll see that without clicking on the link.
Possibly. It depends on their email program. Yeah.
Well, how about if I even make an email that kind of has, that is movement? If I copy something from
JavaScript. So JavaScript is not something that you will get through on an email. So if the movement is created by JavaScript, it's most likely either going to get flagged as spam, or it's just not going to work the way you want it to.
Okay.
You can do some things with CSS. This is actually a pretty good example. You see how this is coloring itself when they move across it. That's something we did with CSS. So if it's some sort of animation you can do with CSS, usually that will be okay. Again, some emails will actually block all images.
I know.
It's with all the spam and stuff. All the email companies or programs are trying to limit that, so they're always trying to do stuff.
Okay, so I just kind of have to play with it and see if it works.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's always probably good to have like a fallback. So, if I were going to put this in like this, I probably should maybe also put the link somewhere as well.
Okay.
So if for some reason that's getting blocked, they have a link that they can click.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
If someone auto books something, can you put a filter on there so it automatically generates them an email?
That's a good question. Let's see. what's something that we could trigger on AutoBook? Let's see if there's a flag. No. I'd have to think through that. Well, Cody, can you put that on our list to look at, maybe? What company are you with?
All-Star Jump.
Okay. We'll get back to you on that.
Okay.
And see if that's possible. All right. Does anyone else have a question?
Just one more quick one. What you were just showing us, where it said rate us, that goes out to the customer. Is there a link that they'll go to Google automatically?
Yeah, so if you haven't looked at this yet, let me see if I can pull that video up.
I'll get it in chat, Tim.
Can you get it in chat for me? Thank you, Cody. What this new system does is, and this is something that we just recently added. So what we wanted to do here is we didn't want to get your 1 and 2 star or even 3-star reviews on your Google page or your Facebook page, right? We only want your 4s and 5s, okay?
Yes.
Internally, doesn't matter because we give you the ability to exclude those. So what we did, if you go to general settings, and this is something only available in the Office upgrade as well, you have this section called reviews. You can come in here and you can put in your URL to your Google or your Facebook. So I would type in something like Google. So my keyboard's not functioning well right now. There we go. And we'd put in that link here, and then we would put in a weight. And a weight, we don't have to enter this. The weight means, like, if we wanted to send more to Google than we're sending to Facebook because we're trying to catch up on our Google reviews, we might put a 5 in here, and when we do Facebook, we might put a 1 in here. That means it's going to 5 times more likely go to Google versus Facebook. And then we can put a minimum star rating, which I'm going to recommend a minimum of a 4. And we can add as many of these as we want. So we can send them to Google, we can send them to Facebook. We can also say we still want some coming into our normal customer satisfaction survey, which is the internal one for IO. We still want some good reviews coming there. What happens then is when they click on, oops, I guess I closed that one. When they click on that star rating, what it's going to do is it's going to look at the number of stars that they chose, and it's then going to look at the options that you want to send them to. It's going to do a calculation to see which one it kind of randomly does it, but it's based on this weight, and it'll send them to one of those places. If they do lower than your minimum rating on all of the ones you've entered here, then they automatically go into the internal review. And it would be just like getting a satisfaction survey back from a customer. Otherwise,
I posted a video in chat for anyone to copy the URL for that. Tim does go into detail in that video on exactly how to set it up, how to get that new template with the nice stars on it, and explains the weighting and everything on that as well.
Yeah. Everything you want to know is in that video. So this is something that's new, and you should be using it. It's going to make a big difference for getting good reviews.
Definitely. Okay, how do I get to chat?
Over on your Zoom menu, there should be a chat.
Oh, okay, I got it.
If you open that up, you'll be able to see it.
Is that Sally talking? I can send you an email.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, guys. Any other questions?
Thank you for doing this.
Well, we thank you guys for being great customers, and we're excited to be a part of this with you. Please be patient with us. If you have something you find, let us know about it. If you don't think we know, most likely we probably already do, but go ahead and send us and we'll be working on continuing to improve the way this works throughout the next year and probably forever. So I just want to thank you all again for coming. We had a great turnout. Again, if you're ready to really dive in, let us know. We'll set your account to automatically log into the Office upgrade. It's a great time to be doing that. And don't worry, you can always get back to the old one. But if you really want to start using it, you're going to have to do some things to kind of just get yourself in there and get used to it. So thanks, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end this.
Thank
And
you.
we will be posting, if this recorded properly, we will be posting this at some point in the future. Okay.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you all.